Pokemon Detective Pikachu is directed by Rob Letterman and is the first installment in a proposed Pokemon live-action franchise. People who have grown up with Pokemon have been waiting for this for some time now, but it's also been a cause for concern because if it doesn't work out, then you may risk losing fans because of it. This movie stars Justice Smith as a boy named Tim, whose father, a detective in the Rhyme City Police Department, has gone missing and is presumed dead. He's come to pay his respects of sorts and say goodbye to his father, who he's been very distant with. He doesn't want anything to do with him. And when he gets to the apartment, he finds Pikachu in there, who apparently had some partnership of sorts with his father, and they were almost partners in crime. And Pikachu says, well, he's not dead yet. I'm very certain he's here somewhere. We just need to find out where he is. I saw this film a couple of days ago, and I've just been really busy in the last couple of days, so I haven't been able to review it quite as well. I know that some of the reviews went up with the embargo that lifted right after I saw the film, so I could have gotten the review out earlier. So I'm sorry if this is a couple of days late. I really enjoyed Detective Pikachu. I don't think it's a perfect movie. I don't think it's necessarily a great movie, but it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And a lot of that is just due to the fact that this film is almost like a love letter to Pokemon. It cares about the characters. It shows 10,000 Easter eggs at one point in time when Tim first enters Rhyme City. That is just a great sequence right there where he's walking around the streets and you see all the different kinds of Pokemon. You see a Snorlax sleeping on the middle of the street. And when you see things like that, that's really cool. And as a fan, you're gonna be dissecting this movie for a long time. Once it drops on Blu-ray, there are gonna be multiple videos on here's the character over here, here's that character, here's that character. This is a reference to that, this is a reference to that. It's not trying to make the humans in the world the centerpiece of it. Pokemon are the spotlight of this movie, and they take the spotlight. For example, Ryan Reynolds has first billing in this movie as Pikachu, not Justice Smith, who is also very good in this movie, but Ryan Reynolds is the guy who's really the star of this film. And I gotta say, he's the best part of this film. I really loved what he did as Pikachu. He brought this really zany comedy to it, which we've come to expect from him, and he did a fantastic job of it. What I did not know, and I thought that was also really cool, is that Pikachu's facial animation is like a motion capture performance. It's actually Ryan Reynolds' facial expressions. At one point in time, the CGI is so immaculate that you're kind of thinking, is that just CGI? There has to be something more involved there. This is also pertaining, I think, to Mewtwo later on in the film, because Mewtwo is talking, and that cannot just be CGI. That has to be some mocap work has to have gone into that somewhere. Which brings me to the special effects, which I think are phenomenal. There's a fantastic sequence at one point in time in a forest, which is stunning. It's one of the best sequences of the year. That being said, I gotta talk about the MVP of this film. The one character I was like, this is great. And that's Psyduck. I did not expect to love Psyduck as much as I did, and yeah, I love Psyduck. I mean, Psyduck was fun in the cartoon too, but here he was great. At one point in time, this character who has Psyduck as her Pokemon, you're sort of thinking to yourself, is this who it is? Could it be possible that it's Misty? And they actually visually reference that it could possibly be Misty, but it's not. It's actually a girl named Lucy, played by Catherine Newton. But they dropped a couple of visual references here and there, like could have been Misty for a second. And I like that. I like that the film is very clever in that regard. There's a lot of things like that sprinkled throughout the film. It's gorgeously shot. It was apparently shot on 35mm film, which is pretty awesome. It's nicely directed. The score is also really great. A really surprising highlight for me. And yeah, I was thoroughly enthralled by this movie. I had so much fun with it. I think my only issue, which is a pretty big issue, and is the story. I think the script it doesn't fully explore the potential that the story creates. There are a lot of things that could be done with this premise and this world, and it feels like a safe zone. Like they're trying to see what works, and if it doesn't quite work out, it's back to the drawing board to see what they can improve on. So there's a lot of cautions taken in that regard. So sometimes it feels like it's self-restraining, even though it brings up some really interesting, bizarre stuff that it's very willing to embrace those things. I just think that it could have done it a lot more. And at one point in time, you can see the film going into that realm. There's a few sequences, such as the match between Charizard and Pikachu in the ring, which I loved. That was a great scene. But again, it's like they're trying to go different at a few points, and then they just kind of pull back to, just to make sure that, all right, what we're trying here, let's just see if the audience like this first, and then in the sequel, we'll double down on this. Okay, cool. That's all. But that does take an effect when it comes to other things, like the villain of the film, who I thought was very weak. I was forgetting about them as I was walking out of the theater. That was very disappointing because so much hinges on this villain character and you just don't care at all. And at points, it becomes a bit too involved in the little things that it forgets some of the core plot points that it's bringing up. Nonetheless, it's still a very enjoyable movie. It's all really well done for the most part. I think, though, with the future films, because I feel like this is going to be a big hit, and I think people are going to enjoy this, that there's a little more risk taken. I would love if there's more risk taken. Don't play it so safe next time. I would really appreciate that. But still, go ahead and watch it. Just watch it for Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu. I'm going to give Detective Pikachu, or Pokemon Detective Pikachu, a 7.5 out of 10. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Look forward to more reviews very soon. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe. I'll see you guys at the movies.